What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome to the first episode of this new series where I'm gonna go through my journey and through my thought process when I make HLTV, Counter-Strike Fantasy teams. So this is a brand new series. Really excited to get started, and today we're gonna go over our first Spring Season 2025 event, which is the Blast Bounty Season 1 Finals. So with this being a new series, I wanted to focus on primarily any events that count towards our season fantasy leaderboard. If there's enough interest, I might do the partner game, but usually only these events are the season events count towards the leaderboard. So the partner games usually only give prizes to the top 3, which is a lot harder to win. But with the season games, you can track your process and you can go up the leaderboard and win some monetary prizes. But if there's enough interest, like I said, and demand, then I would try to do some partner games. So leave a comment, let me know if you like to see those. If not, we'll just focus on just the season events for this year. Really quickly, the rules should be the same for the spring season 2025. I believe the point system might have changed a little bit. The season points awarded look the same. However, these percentages might have changed a little bit. However, nothing really has changed. You still want to focus on getting top 20s as your baseline, and then anything above that, you overachieved and you did really well, because that then will help you place really high on the fantasy leaderboard. We don't want those, 80%, 100%. You want to be in the top 20 most of the time. To place really high and to hopefully, get some prices at the end of the season. I will, just for our new people that haven't played HLTV Fantasy or Counter-Strike Fantasy, I will talk about the rules a little bit and just summarize them. If you want to skip forward, you're more than welcome to. I will have timestamps where I will talk about the event, my team, the team building process, and then my team for this event. So you can skip forward if you already know the rules, but basically, for all my newbies, I will leave a video down below as well. A beginner's guide to HLTV Fantasy, created by another creator by the name of Bardu. He's really good fantasy player. He understands the game at a high level, so I think definitely go give him a follow, and I'll definitely click that link below after you finish this video and check that out if you still have any questions about it. Basically, you have a 1 million budget. You pick 5 players within that $1 million budget, and you get awarded for how they do in the game. So their HLTV rating, points for their HLTV rating, their roles, and the boosters that they get, and whether or not they win, obviously. You do have a limit of 2 players per team. So usually the team structures are a 2-2-1, which is picking 5 players from 3 different teams. So you will stack 2 teams will have 2 players. 2 teams will have 2 players, and then 1 team will have a leftover player from a different team. A 2-1-1-1. 5 players from 4 different teams. And then the old mighty, the craziest lineup is a 1-1-1-1-1, which is 5 players from 5 different teams. And usually depending on the event, actually, usually single eliminations, you kind of want to go with a 2-2-1. Double eliminations, you can still go for a 2-2-1, a 2-2-1-1-1. But it really depends on the event and the players that are available. But you usually want to go with stacking at least 1 team, so a 2-2-1 or a 2-1-1-1. There will be chances to to do a 1-1-1 if you're interested in that, but for now, just wait on that, especially not for this event. I would not try it out. You can, but you probably won't place as high as if you stack two teams, because let's say, for example, someone like FaZe were to win a tournament. If you were to stack two players from FaZe, your likelihood of gaining a lot of points, especially if they won the tournament, will be a lot higher than stacking someone from Navi who might get eliminated early on in the tournament, or picking different players from different teams who might just be eliminated throughout the tournament. So yeah, that's a quick example. Just really quickly, looking at this partner game, this was headline. Well, this was a Blast Bounty Season 1 group stage event. Only the top 3 won any prizes, but this was headlined by having our first female team in a Tier 1 tournament facing Tier 1 opposition and Navi. So that gave us the opportunity to pick female players at really cheap prices. So I believe Cat was the cheapest player available at 150, and then the rest of the players were like ranging from 150 to 160, 65, I believe. So this strategy basically allowed me to get Cat as my cheapie and be able to spend $850 on the rest of my team. So I did it 2-1-1-1. So 2 players from Navi and then 3 players from 3 different teams. And I finished quite well. Top 20, wins me nothing, but it was fun, just to get the fantasy itch out of the way for the first event of the season. But now we'll get to the final stage where it will actually count for real. We can see who won. It was a 2-2-1 stack with Spirit and Bedboom as their stack. They won, but if we check out the rest of the top 5, we can see the Imperial female was one of the players, and then there was stack Spirit. It had a Jail and Magnages as the rest of the players. 3 as well. Stack Spirit, stack Bedboom, get Cat as their 5th. This one did a Donk Saiwu carry with 2 Imperial female players. And then Donk Saiwu again carry with 2 female Imperial players. So it was possible, to do quite well on this with Imperial female players. I think this event allowed it because you were able to, chicken them out for the first game. And then you would just get a -3 for the second game. And you'll be able to get insane players at the prices. But yeah, you were able to chicken them out for the first game. This could be possible for this event, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's talk about the event and how it's been going. So the first event of the year, we did see a couple of upsets. Bedboom, with their new lineup, beat Mouse. So that was the first upset that we saw in round 32. And then in the round of 16, we saw Pain beating FaZe, and then Heroic beating Liquid. So those were some upsets, especially with the caliber team that FaZe was and Mouse. They got upset by Pain and Bedboom. So that gives us an interesting finals bracket for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final. So the way this event works is there's the teams are split into two different teams. So for example, they're split into bounty hunters and then teams with bounties. So example, this quarterfinals, the top 4 teams are the teams with the bounty, and the bottom 4 are teams that are bounty hunters. So Bedboom are a bounty hunter, and they're the 5th seed because they took that from Mouse. So they will choose their opponent first. It will go down to, then Pain will choose the whoever's remaining. Eternal Fire will get the choice of the final two, and Heroic get left over with whoever was not chosen. And so this has been interesting because teams strategize and try to choose who they think is the weakest team and try to get through to the finals. So let's go over it really quickly. Who I think who get chosen, especially because we don't know the matchups yet. I believe we'll get the matchups later on today. But until then, I think I have a good idea of who's gonna play who and who's gonna pick what teams. So let's just go through the simulator that was provided by Blast TV. So Bedboom will choose G2. I think there's a highly likely, like I would say 90% Bedboom will choose G2. G2 didn't look good in the group stage. They struggled against Bait and Big, almost getting eliminated by Boat. Losing Nico has been something I still have to get over, especially because Nico was a great mid-round caller. He was a star rifler. He is, I think, the GOAT rifler. So definitely interesting to see how G2 will do. However, they're going to do against a Bedboom team that are not going to have their full strength lineup. They're going to be missing Boomich and Siren. They're going to be replaced by Nafani and Kyron from the old Bedboom core. So it's going to be interesting to see. The other matchup that I think has a high likelihood of happening is Heroic facing Spirit. I don't think Bedboom, I don't think Pain or Eternal Fire will pick Spirit. I think Spirit will fall to Heroic, and so Heroic will have to face the Shanghai Major winner, Spirit. But also Heroic will also be missing one player. I believe his name is TN1R. I don't know how to say it. If you know, please leave a comment down below and let me know. But yeah, they're gonna be missing him, and they're gonna be playing with Modern instead. So here's the most important matchups that could be 50-50 on who gets to play who. However, I think Pain will choose Vitality, and then Eternal Fire will face Navi. I think Pain choose Vitality because Vitality made a roster change. They removed Spinks and got Robs. Although it's not as big of a role change, I think Pain will see that and try to take on Vitality. Also, Vitality do have that number 3 seed, which is the most important seed when it comes to the semifinals, and you'll see why in just a second. But yeah, I think Pain with David Dales as their new rifler will pick Vitality, and so that leaves Eternal Fire to Navi. Eternal Fire got Jota for Calyx. I think gives them that more firepower in the X Factor. Navi, they didn't make any changes. They failed out of the Shanghai Major, but I think they come into this tournament with a pretty stable roster. And we'll see what occurs. But now that we have the matchup set, I'm gonna go who I think is gonna win what matchup. Although G2 haven't looked good, I think they'll win against Bedboom, especially a Bedboom team that's missing two of their pieces from their new lineup. So yeah, G2 will beat Bedboom. Pain versus Vitality. Vitality, I think, have Saiwu, who's looked really good, and Rob, so I think that should be enough to beat Pain. However, Vitality always does this to me. They always look really good going into the final stages, and they always never get to the finals. They always get upset by a team, but I think this time they'll be able to hold on and beat Vitality and beat Pain. Eternal Fire are my dark horse, so if I had to pick a team that could upset and win the whole thing, I think Eternal Fire could be that team, out of the top, that's not in the top 4. Honestly, I think Eternal Fire have a higher probability of winning the whole thing than G2, honestly. But I think Navi and Blade would be able to, to contain Eternal Fire and Centaurus. Anti-Strike against Centaurus, be able to, have the enough tactical edge to, beat Eternal Fire. So I'm gonna go with Navi. Finally, Heroic versus Spirit. Spirit should win this. It's too much firepower. Donk is Donk. He's the best player in the world right now. Heroic is a brand new roster, who, although Saw is a great coach, it is an old Sangol core. And Spirit, should be able to take over and destroy them. And Donk should be able to, just go crazy on top of the scoreboard. So like I previously mentioned, Vitality having that number 3 seed means that they get to choose their semifinal opponent first. I think they'll choose G2, which means Spirit versus Navi will be the other semifinal matchup. And like I said, I'm not really high on G2, honestly. They look quite poor in the group stage, and they're kind of lucky that they face a bad Boom team that doesn't have Boomage and Siren, because if Pep Boom did have those players, I think they could have beaten G2, especially how they looked and how Pep Boom looked really well, really good. So I think Vitality should beat G2. G2 still needs more time to gel. Vitality have an easier player to integrate in Robs, especially on T side, when Robs and Spix are kind of the same player when it comes to going on offense and playing T side. Spirit versus Navi, this one is a 50-50. I think it really depends on the day and how Navi can deal with Donk. We've seen Navi have the ability to anti-strat against star players, but also Donk is just on the form of his life. So I do think Spirit beat Navi to lead a final with Vitality and Spirit. And even though Vitality have a overall better lineup, in my opinion, than Spirit, I do think Spirit beat Vitality. I think Vitality is a little too early for them to be fully on the same page and win the whole thing. So Spirit will take this. Donk will donk Saiwu, and Spirit will win the Blast Bounty Season 1 finals. So something really quickly I want to talk about this as well is that whoever wins so if you win, so for example you upset a team, for example Beboom upsets G2, you basically take their seed, so Beboom will become the number 1 seed, and so they won't be able to choose their semifinal opponent. So this is why the 3rd seed and the 4th seed, well, the 3rd seed actually is the most important seed in the quarterfinals, because then you'll be able to choose your opponent for the semifinals. And something also that occurs in that regard is that we know that the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed cannot play each other in the semifinals, and the number 3 seed and the number 4 seed cannot play each other in the semifinals. So if you think these are the matchups for the quarterfinals, you know that, and you think these are the winners, you know that G2 cannot play Navi in the semifinals. So if you wanted to go 2 G2 players and 2 Navi players, and they both win their semifinals, you'll be able to get them in the finals. So you have 2 G2, 2 Navi players, you have 4 players in the finals. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for to have as many players as possible in the finals. Again, same thing for Vitality and Spirit. I have them in this bracket, making it to the finals. So if you go 2 Vitality and 2 Spirit players, they should never face each other in the semifinals, especially if they win their matchups. So if they both win their semifinals, they both get to the finals. You'll have 4 players in the finals. That was the most important thing. That's how it gets you the most points. All right, now we're done. Now we can talk about fantasy. So really quickly, looking at our most picked players, we have Chopper and Donk. So Spirit are the favorite team for this, according to the community. They're picking Chopper and Donk as a combination, close to 50% for both. It's like high 40s for Chopper and mid 40s, low 40s for Donk. We also see Alexi B and Apex as options. They're getting chosen as well. So Navi and Vitality are getting chosen as that second team. And then we see a Heavy God. So the top 4 teams are getting chosen in the top 5 places. Heavy God's great value. Alexi B and Apex are just getting chosen because people think, Navi and Vitality win, cheapest player from those teams, so on and so forth. Nathany getting chosen as the cheapest player in general. He is the chicken out option for this event. Snow did quite well, and he's really cheap as well. And then Rops as the other Vitality player. All right, let's get started. So we can see Spirit, come in at these prices. I think they all came in at a reasonable price, especially because if we think they're gonna win the whole thing, these prices should be great forward. And I think Donk is the one that we talk about the most. He was the best player in the group stages by a big margin, 0.22 plus over Saiwu. That's the second best player, so far and away the best player in the group stage. He comes in at the highest price at 235. He is worth it. However, it really depends on the rest of your lineup and how you want to build it. But what I like to do is, not follow the masses. So, because it is the first event, you could follow the masses and you could finish top 20 because Donk can carry you. But I'm gonna play a little bit differently this tournament. I think this is the tournament to play a little bit differently. I think Donk, while he's gonna be worth it and he's gonna do good, I think you could go a little bit different. You can go maybe Magix and Sontics as well. Magix coming off his Shanghai finals performance, where he was basically, him and Donk were carrying Team Spirit, and then Sontics, who had a great group stage, as you can see. He put a 1.4 rating. Magic's up there as well, 1.28. Chopper as well, doing really well with the 1.19. When Donk goes off and he blows up teams, everyone else kind of rises up with Donk and performs really well. The only player that kind of doesn't do that is Shiro with a 1.25. You can see he averages about 1.18 last 3 months. Everyone else kind of goes up a lot. So as you can see, everyone else went up by a lot. Maybe Shiro only went up by 0.07 and everyone else went up by more than that. So Shiro struggles a little bit when Donk blows everyone out because he entries, he gets 2-3 kills, and then Shiro has to hold the op and doesn't get as much action as he wants. But against better opposition, he gets more opportunity to show his true value to the team. So he could be an option. But I say if you're interested in Spirit, definitely go with Donk. If you really, really believe in Spirit, go with Donk. If not, you can always go Sontics. Sontics is great value. I really like Sontics. I don't mind Magix. I don't mind Chopper. All 5 are in play. G2. Let's look at G2's ratings. You can see Heavy God Monoseed Mobs did quite well. Maybe Mossy is not doing as good as he can do, but still doing quite fine. Malb's doing really good in those sneaker roles, and then Heavy God taking the mob roles from the previous team. Hunter 1.05, and then Snacks in the Big Red. They call him the Big Apple, but I like to call him the Big Red because he never has good ratings. So Snacks, I will eliminate him right away. Just pick Chopper, pick Alexi B or Apex at that price. Just not worth it, especially because I don't see G2 getting past the semifinals. That's why I wouldn't go Mossy either. He is going to be a great differential. If you think G2 can go all the way, Mossy should be the carry, so he could be the option. However, at 230 is a little much, and I prefer like Donk or Saiwu at that price. But still, he could do really good. The players I do like, Heavy God, I really like Heavy God. At 206, he's definitely going to be the cheapest he's ever going to be right now. Great player. You know, he can do all different type of roles. If you need him to entry, he'll entry. If you need him to lurk, he'll lurk. If you need him to anchor the site, he'll anchor the site. He's that guy. Heavy GOAT. Hunter at 184. If you believe in Hunter, if you believe in him, you know, performing in the bigger stages, then he's an option. But I don't know. Hunter hasn't really shown much in the last few years, or like the last year exactly. He's kind of gone downhill a little bit, especially with CS2 coming out. But he's an option. He's so cheap that he's an option. Malbs getting those Nico rolls, you know, interesting as well. But Heavy got my favorite, then Hunter. Navi. Navi is an interesting team. You can see in the group stage. This is also with facing Imperial female, so keep that in mind. But Beat was the best player. JL, wonderful Ime on the green, and Alexi 0.93. So yeah, Alexi, I would say he's my third favorite IGL out of the top 4. He's usually not going to give you that big negative that Snacks does, but he's never going to give you a positive or have the upside that Apex and Chopper do. He's like more of a support IGL. He lets, you know, the rest of his squad go off. And this is how Navi play. Navi play like a team, so usually these 4 kind of interchange on who goes off in each event. Usually it's Beat and JL as the favorites to, you know, to go crazy. But honestly, if you wanted to go with a Navi stack, I would just go Wonderful and Ime. I think it's, you know, you just pick the cheapest players that you can get, and then you hope for the best. And I think Wonderful and Ime can, you know, they could be the ones that pop off instead of JL a bit. But Navi is interesting. I like these 4 players, but Wonderful and Ime my favorites. But yeah, the prices are a little bit too high for me. Vitality, I like all their players, but if we take a look at the ratings, Saiwu, Pop Off, Robs and Messi did quite well, and then Apex and Flamesy struggled. However, like I said, I do think Vitality have the highest likelihood of getting to the finals. I don't think they have the highest likelihood of winning. I think whoever, Spirit, Navi, whoever's on the other side probably have a higher chance of winning the whole thing. But because Navi and Spirit should face each other in the semifinals, and Vitality should face G2 or Bad Boom, Vitality should have the highest chance of making it to the finals. So with that in mind, I like all 5 other players. Saiwu can be your carry. I think he's my favorite gold. I think Saiwu would Donk because Saiwu should get to the finals at a higher percentage than Donk. But Donk should be getting higher ratings than Saiwu, if you know what I mean. Rob's, at 213 is quite good. Guess to be a for not for Vitality now. New role, not new roles, but new team, different type of IGL and Apex, who I quite like as well. I think he's my favorite, or my second favorite IGL in the top 4 behind Chopper. So yeah, Robs should get most of his roles. Flamesy didn't perform quite well, but he was super consistent last year. He was a top 10 HLTV player. So I do hope to see that bounce back from him, and I do think he can make it. And then Messi, super consistent, really cheap. So if you want to get in on Vitality, get on Messi. It's also quite good. So all 5 players are options. Pain has Davideos now. Davideos and Olympic Syrup performed the best in the group stage, and then NQC and Chaos, not as good. But you can see the NQC and Chaos are the most expensive. Just ignore them. Go with Davideos. Go with Bigosera. Go with Snow. If you wanted to do a top 1% lineup, it would be picking Pain players. So picking 2 Pain players to make it to the finals, because no one's gonna have that lineup. But yeah, Snow, Davideos, Bigosera. Take your poison. If you think they can get to past the quarterfinals, I think they could be worth it at those prices, especially the Snow. But I would just get maybe one of them. One of them will be differential enough, to, give you a good rating if they do overperform. And here's my Dark Horse Eternal Fire. Centaurus going crazy with Katie as well. And then Major, Woxic, Jota did alright. Major did quite well for his roles. But again, this is another team that if you were to, stack 2 of them, for example, if I were to stack 2 of them, maybe Centaurus and like Woxic or Major, you could get a top 1% team, get that 25 points, get the season started if you really think they could upset teams. I wouldn't touch Jota. I wouldn't touch Wicadia. Jota still getting used to this team. Wicadia, he's more expensive than Woxic. I think, just go with Woxic. But yeah, Centaurus, if you really think Starfire do the upsets, the best option is Centaurus for sure, because he's going to put up good ratings no matter what. He's one of the best riflers in the world. And then, just play Major Woxic if you want to stack with them. Finally, we have Bet Boom. Wouldn't touch them and wouldn't touch Heroic. However, the only player I would pick is Nafany, because he's the cheapest player in the game, and you can just chicken him out for the first game, which is probably going to be against G2. And yeah, you'll only get, instead of getting a -7 for the minus like 14, 15, 20 for the first game, you're only going to get a -6 in total for the whole tournament, because there'll be 3 stages, and you'll get a -3 for semifinals and the finals, because he's not going to make it past to those stages. So yeah, those are the options, and I'll show my team now. So my first pick, because I think Spirit will win the whole tournament, I think Donk can carry them to the finals, is I'm going to take Magix and Sontics. I'm not going to go with Donk. He's too highly chosen at Chopper as well. So I'm going to take the chance on Magix having some magic from, his Shanghai finals performance to carry over, and Sontics to become that third player, to help them, win certain games. So that's Spirit. And because I think Vitality have the highest chance to get to the finals, I'm going to go with Robs and Flamesy. Robs, should be able to have like those lurk positions, those lurk positions are the best when it comes to playing um, the better teams. Lurking is usually better against better teams, and then entry fraggers are usually better to get higher HLTV ratings against weaker opposition. So props will be my option, and then I will pick Flamesy. Flamesy, although he didn't do as good and he struggled against the group stage teams, I think he's super consistent. I think by picking both of these, I will have at least 2 players in the finals that would be really good and that can like pop off and score me a lot of points. And so if Spirit were to be eliminated by Navi or before the finals, I could have Robs and Flamesy as my carries in the finals, I'm completely fine with that. And then finally, Nafany, chicken out option, 100%. So these are the roles that I'm gonna pick for my players. We're not able to do boosters right now. As soon as the matchups get confirmed, we'll be able to put boosters on him. But Nafany for sure will get the chicken out booster for the first match. And if anything interesting were to go down that I haven't mentioned on my season 1 simulator, I will leave a comment down below, especially Bet Boom. Were not to choose G2, then I will for sure leave a comment down below. Or if I do any updates with this team, I will also leave a comment down below. But other than that, just make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Leave a comment down below with your team or with any thoughts or feedbacks for this event or for this video, for this new series I'm going to start. But other than that, good luck Counter-Strike players, and see you for next time.